The parade that originally debuted 53 years ago is back again. But this time, in the sky.
Soarin to tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Disney World is situated in Bay Lake, Florida. Because that was originally a swamp, the Imagineers had to move a lot of land to build the Magic Kingdom. In doing so, they created the Seven Seas Lagoon. When the park opened in 1971, the lagoon held the nightly Electrical Water Pageant, a show featuring 14 screens on barges that floated across the water. Then president of the Walt Disney Company, Card Walker, liked it so much that he asked for Disneyland to get its own version. But since Disneyland didn't have a lagoon, the Electrical Water Pageant became the Main Street Electrical Parade. Not only would this adaptation transform barges into parade floats and turn the distant audience at the water's edge into a mess of people standing mere feet away, it would also utilize a brand new system to control these floats. By stationing radio signals throughout the parade route, each float could interact with its surroundings and trigger different audio in the speakers near it. To this day, when you're watching a Disney Parks parade, the soundtrack changes based on which float is going by. That's not based on timing, that's based on a system of complex radio signals. But while the technology is tried and true now, it was being developed from the ground up in the 70s. Everyone was hoping that this landmark experience would go well. Unfortunately for them, it didn't. Development of this parade was a nightmare. Construction fell so far behind that Imagineers had to finish building the floats themselves in a backstage area of Disneyland instead of letting the contractors finish it. Then, because of how long it was taking, the show only got one dress rehearsal before its premiere to try to perfect every single piece in harmony. It did not go well. Some floats crashed into buildings, others collapsed entirely, and certain costumes shot pyrotechnics out randomly. With the highly publicized first performance date fast approaching, Imagineers had to keep working on and fixing the show all the way through the day of its premiere, all in hopes that they could get it guest ready in time. Miraculously, they somehow made their deadline, and the Main Street Electrical Parade went off without a hitch. But all that work would be for nothing if the guests didn't like it. Luckily, they loved it, and it would play nightly from 1977 all the way through its farewell season in October of 1996, which was then extended to November of 1996. To commemorate the almost 20 years of the parade, Disney sold actual light bulbs from some of the floats. A few months later, though, the floats were all dismantled. And then, 3 years later, they were all reassembled and brought over to Florida. The parade ran in the Magic Kingdom until 2001, when it went back to California. But instead of returning to Disneyland, executives decided to try to bring attendance to the struggling California adventure by renaming the show Disney's Electrical Parade, and sending it down the main thoroughfare of a weird California postcard. In 2009, the parade got a major overhaul, with LED lights, new floats, and an updated score. At least until 2010, when construction shuttered the parade. For good. Well, kind of. In Hong Kong Disneyland, a spiritual successor to the Main Street Electrical Parade called Paint the Night opened in 2014 and became the definitive version of the show. Except I'm kidding, the original show came back to Disneyland one last time for a year in 2016. And again in 2019. And again in 2022. But when it left in September of 2022, it seemed really gone this time. Until...
We're here to do the test for the future drone show at Disneyland Paris.
Disneyland Paris was reviving the parade. But not as a parade, as a drone show. Disneyland Paris loves using drones. They'd been featured in Disney Delight, Avengers Power of the Night, and a special Bastille Day show that I actually saw when I was over there. It was amazing. But how do you turn a parade into a sky show? Would that even work? Well, the show finally opened on January 8th, a few days ago when I'm filming this. And yeah, it's really cool. But how close is it to the parade that it's adapting? Let's get the magnifying glass out. Okay, I don't actually have a magnifying glass, let's just watch some footage. I can't show you any more of that, otherwise I'll be eaten by the copyright monster. But I can tell you that it's pretty close. I was expecting something vaguely in the vein of the parade, but they pretty much just translated it to the sky. We start with the Blue Fairy, which Disneyland used until 2001. Then we get Casey Jr., some Alice in Wonderland butterflies and ladybugs, and the coach from Cinderella. The swans from Swan Lake, as represented in the Tokyo Disneyland version of the parade, appear, followed by the Jolly Roger. The end is where we get a little more mixed up. We get the Mine from Snow White and Elliot from Pete's Dragon, out of order, and then a segment inspired by the It's a Small World finale in Tokyo. The drones then make up a map of all the Disney theme parks, and the logo inspired by the original parade's logo, culminating in all the effects Disney has. But this isn't just a drone show. It's also a projection show. And the projections feature the Fab Five, as they were when Disneyland Paris got the original parade, Maleficent as a dragon, like she was in 1973, and Robin Hood from a version of the original finale. I didn't see Dumbo, or, most worryingly, Return to Oz, but at the end of the day, I think the team behind the Electric Sky Parade did a great job at their goal.
C'est de rendre l'émotion que cette parade a pu donner en 92, et aussi pour les nouvelles générations, ceux qui ne connaissent pas du tout ce spectacle, leur donner le même niveau d'émotion.
You would be missing the point though, to just compare this to the parade. It does a lot of cool stuff, all on its own. The drones have pyrotechnics on them to make the Jolly Roger's pixie dust. The pumpkin morphs into a carriage right in front of us. The projection effects are so imaginative and magical, and the score is phenomenal. The one thing it isn't, though, is full of fireworks. This show has drones, projections, water fountains, lighting, but no fireworks. This isn't just a thing with Paris. We've been seeing this transition across the parks for a few years now.
I've noticed that a lot of Disney shows are starting to use more projections. They're trying to ease up the fireworks. I think it's really cool what you can do with them. I don't think they're quite there, but it's very impressive what they can do with them. And I think with a little bit more development, you can make some really cool stuff, and I think you could kind of replace fireworks entirely.
Well, Paris figured out a way to do it. While I understand the desire to eliminate or de-emphasize fireworks because of how complex and expensive they are, I always feel like I'm missing something. I never missed the fireworks with this show, though, or with the Bastille Day show that I saw. It's just as impactful, just as spectacular without it. Alas, the US parks can't use drones. It's complicated, but basically, the FAA says that we can't fly drones above people, and the parks don't have the space to go far enough away while still being in view of the show, like Paris does. But I'm glad Paris can, because this show is great. I honestly think it's a model for what every Disney nighttime show should be, blending all those elements together so well with a good mixture of nostalgia and originality. If only more parks could. Except for the water jets. Close the bridge and add some fountains to the water by Cinderella Castle, I dare you. Your move, Disney. Until next time, be sure to gather all your carry-on items from the undersea compartment and exit to your right.